Join me this time to discuss the midterm political implications of today's news and the Syrian airstrikes is Forbes columnist and former chairman of the GOP in the state of California, Tom Beccaro. Tom, good to see you.
Rick, always good to see you. How are you?
Doing good, Tom. So what do you think? What's the implications of today's announcement?
Well, this is very interesting because right now the polls are switching from registered voters to likely voters. And in just about every race, with maybe one exception in North Carolina, the Democrats are having trouble holding on to the Senate. And it looks like they're going to lose it. Now, if you're losing, you got to change the game politically. And this might be an opportunity for them to say, we need to hold the Senate because we need to affirm the next Eric Holder. So maybe the timing of this is, as you say, there's trouble ahead, but they're going to point out how desperately they need to hold on to that Senate because they need to appoint the next Attorney General.
Explain to our viewers how it is that appointing the next Attorney General could help Democrats politically.
Well, what you're going to see from Obama, and this has pretty much been true for the last 3 or 4 years, because there's been no major legislation out of the Congress in the last 3 or 4 years. It was all the first year. It was the stimulus. It was Obamacare. Since then, we need to preserve our gains. We need to hold on to what we've done. Well, as you pointed out, Eric Holder has been sort of the defender-in-chief or the hider-in-chief of what's going on with this administration. So look for fundraising emails coming out from the Democrats saying, in order to solidify our gains, to make sure that Obamacare is defended, to stop the war on women, to not have another Ferguson, wait for them to come out with comments like this saying, give us money so that we can hold on to the Senate.
Do you think this move is a wise move by Democrats? Do you think it will be effective or too early to tell?
It might be too early to tell because you hit the railroad tie on the head when you said the judge says this has got to go forward. You got to give up those documents. If it turns out that 3 weeks from now we learn some bad stuff that related to the Justice Department, and frankly, I don't know how we couldn't, then this was good timing. But I think in the long run, because also what you mentioned, that he's the least popular, this isn't going to fire up Republicans that much more. It may have a chance to help the Republicans. So it's a little early to tell.
All right, switching gears right now, but staying on the theme of midterm elections, the implications, Syrian airstrikes. All of a sudden, obviously, national security is becoming a key issue among voters in America. What's your take on Syrian airstrikes, what it means to November?
Well, the question is, does Obama look better today than he did a month ago when he was playing golf when somebody was being beheaded? The answer is he does. But is it enough? Quite frankly, the manner in which they're going about this is not going to create some sudden victory. You're going to see this stories come out like today where there was Iraq exposes a plot to bomb U.S. Subways and Paris subways. You're going to see uneven gains. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. But there won't be a decisive victory or a decisive turning point in the next 60 days. So I think even though he's doing better than when he was playing golf, he's not going to be doing good enough to turn the tide on this because the rise of the security mom has occurred again. If you remember in a prior presidential election, concern over terrorism, you had the security moms. That's a bad dynamic for him. If we tie it back to the prior discussion and he nominates a woman to be Attorney General, that's a clear indication from them that you're seeing he feels weak with regard to the women's vote, and he's trying to combine these two crises and come out on top of it.
We had a Democratic strategist on the air on a show here last week. I believe you saw the video of it. She got up and walked off the set. I was making the premise that national issues matter in U.S. Senate races, as you are right now, Tom. She told me I was flatly wrong, inaccurate. I was polarizing America, that it's local. What's happening in North Carolina matters in the North Carolina Senate race. What's happening in Alaska is what matters, not what's happening in the Obama White House. Your take on that comment?
Eric, you can take it as a general rule that the party that is losing the Senate races or the House races is the party who wants it to make it about local issues. The party that's got the momentum wants to nationalize it. Clearly, this is a nationalized thing. And it's so bad for the Democrats that the individual races, even if they wanted to say it was, you know, something important about Mary Landrieu in Louisiana or up in Alaska or in North Carolina, they don't have a consistent message because Obama's failures keep stepping on it. So unquestionably, the Republicans want to make this a national election, and that's benefiting from them. The Democrats want to say, like Republicans did, oh, let's say in 2012 or in 2006, that these are local elections, but they wound up losing ground in those circumstances. So she's wrong, you're right, and Obama had already polarized the nation. You were just responding.
Tom, I want to get your take on this. This is important. I think the media is not reporting on it. This Obama White House has just launched airstrikes or attacks in the seventh sovereign Arab nation since this president has been elected. That is more than under President George W. Bush, by the way. What does that mean in your best professional assessment to Democratic voters in November? I cannot see this going down well with Democratic voters in November if they're aware of what's happening.
You know, I agree with you. His base is not happy. And remember, his base is 20% on the left, is to the left of him where he's actually governing, if you can believe that. They don't think he's gone far enough on environmental issues or on Obamacare or on things related to national security. They want him out of the war permanently. Well, he's not doing that. He pulled everybody out, but that was a bad policy. So this is going to discourage them a little bit. He may be able to pick some back up if the independents say he looks good or he comes up with some major victory. But I don't think so. I think his base is discouraged. All the polls show that the Republicans are far more interested in voting this time around than the Democrats. That doesn't mean that the Republicans shouldn't have a more positive agenda. I still think they should come out with about 3 weeks to go and say, here's the 4 things we're going to do. Help us get elected.
I agree with you. There should be a message. Final question. Please keep your answer very, very brief. Will 2014 look like 2010 in terms of the election results when grassroots conservatism swept across America? I am stunned that Republicans aren't further ahead in more races given the track record of this president.
Well, I think it's because the Republicans still haven't won over enough Tea Party votes and consolidated the majority that should exist. We picked up 60 plus House seats in 2010. That will not happen again. You could get somewhere between 15 and 25. You could get between 6 and 10 Senate seats. But if they just ride it out, that's not going to happen. But if they come up with a positive agenda, they can get closer to the higher end of that prediction.
All right, Tom Beccaro, former chairman for Republican Party, state of California, current columnist at Forbes. Thank you for joining us. And he's right. The Republicans are just riding it out right now. That's not going to work. No one in America wants that.